Okay, this is the first stop in our river tour. Where I am now is at the base of the main river that flows out of the Northern Range Mountains. And you can see the foothills of the Northern Range Mountains behind me. This is obviously not pristine habitat. Where I'm standing now, maybe 50 years ago, would have been lowland rainforest. And lowland rainforest could have been potentially the most towering of all rainforests because the trees are growing on level, stable land. Those trees disappeared from here probably sometime around World War II or certainly by 1960. And so what you have now is a river flowing through open land. Upstream from here are chickens and pig ranches and some agriculture. So things are quite different from what they used to be. But this still is a habitat where we find guppies, and it's a high predation locality. Almost all the fish that would have been here 50 years ago are still here. There are a couple of them that had a life cycle that involved going out to sea. They would breed here, the babies would be washed out to sea, and then they would migrate upstream again. Things like the mountain mullet or some gobies. And they were here in the 1950s, and they're not here anymore. But otherwise, there's pretty much a full spectrum, the full cast of fish that would have been here at the time when the river was pristine. So this is a dangerous place to be a guppy. We've measured guppy mortality rates in localities like this one, and the probability of dying per unit time is probably 2 to 3 times greater on a daily basis than it would be in a site where those predators are not present. And that difference is a big one because if you stretched out, we usually do our studies over about a 10 or 12 day period, but if we extrapolated our 10 or 12 day results to 6 months, it says that the probability of living to an age of 6 months right here is only about 1/20th to 1/30th of what it would be further upstream in the tributaries that we'll see later on in our river tour. So this is a dangerous neighborhood for a guppy, and yet the guppies are abundant. They manage to get by here, but they aren't necessarily found everywhere. They have sort of a fugitive existence, and so right here in this little alcove you might see some guppies, whereas out in the middle of the river they won't be there because it's too high of a risk of predation. So they only live in little safe pockets, and when they find the appropriate little safe pocket where they can reproduce, then the populations explode because these guppies are the ones that mature when they're very young and produce lots of babies. So when circumstances are favorable for them, they can multiply prodigiously. But out in the main river, where predation is a serious problem, then guppies are actually a rare fish. So we think of them as having a fugitive existence in this type of habitat.